where do we even start this week? QPR are top of the league, but in typical QPR fashion, we can't really enjoy it. On the pitch, there was a low with the defeat against Luton, followed by a big high as we beat Cardiff 3-0. But we cannot ignore the off-the-field story developing as Mick Beale is wanted by Wolves. We're going to get onto that later. If we focus on the matches for a moment first, if we look back at Luton, we now know, obviously, that we've bounced back from it. So is it a match that we just have to put down as one of those days, or are there any lasting concerns from that one?
Yeah, I think it's just one of those days, really. Luton I think they're a really good side. I was really impressed with them. Their front two were so good. Morris up front, I thought, caused us so many problems. They beat Norwich the other night. They're clearly a good side. They're going to be there or thereabouts. And we just, on the day, we didn't play particularly well. We didn't. Our final ball was poor, and we were bullied a little bit around the field. So there's stuff they can learn from it. But if there's, I think, like the manager said afterwards, you can't get too down after results like that. You can't win every game, and we weren't terrible, but you have to credit the opposition. Really, they played really well.
Yeah, they were worthy winners, no argument. When we went 2-1 and you thought maybe we'd get another chance, it would have been daylight robbery, a bit like Sunderland earlier in the season, wouldn't it? It's just one of those afternoons where literally I think every player was like 5 out of 10 at best, weren't they? Too many bad performances all at the same time. And like we said, just a match to learn from for next time. Cardiff, though, 3-0 to QPR. It was just a perfect evening, wasn't it? You're 1-0 up against 10 men with 17 minutes left. I personally felt for the Cardiff fans because we've all been there, haven't we, when there's so long left and the match is kind of already over and it's a wasted trip. Do you think it was a penalty and a red card, though?
Watching it live, I thought it was a penalty. Not so sure now. I've seen the replay. It never looked a red card. I thought that was incredibly harsh. I'd have been fuming if that was given for us. It's 50-50 whether it's a foul or not. It was a great run by Armstrong. I mean, he was causing them problems all night, wasn't he? But yeah, it was harsh in it. I'm not sure it changed the game that much, to be honest. We were well on top at that stage anyway, and you thought it was a matter of when we were going to score rather than if. But it obviously had an effect, and I did feel for Cardiff fans a bit. It was a long night for them, wasn't it?
Yeah, I agree. I thought it was a penalty, potentially just because he was being knocked and shoved before he even got to the box. Never a red card, though, because the ball went through to the goalkeeper. I don't even think he was going to get onto it, was he? And there was obviously defenders right alongside. It was harsh. But it was an absolutely dominant display after that, wasn't it? It's one of those rare evenings where you can sit back and enjoy watching us play. Yeah,
that first half, they were fantastic last night. Like, everyone was like a 8 out of 10 when they first half. They created chances. Chair could have had a couple. Dykes scored 2, probably hit the bar with one, didn't he? There was crosses going across the 6-yard box. It was fantastic to watch. It could have been 5 or 6 by half time. But then second half, they kind of eased off a little bit, perhaps with Saturday in mind. They made a few changes, and it was a bit dull second half, to be honest. But they were always well in control, weren't they? It was a really, really impressive performance.
Yeah, it was. You said before, I don't think the red card changed the game, and I agree. They had like 2 long-range efforts in the first 5 minutes, but even before the red card, we were starting to get well on top, weren't we? In a well-deserved win. And so we are top at this stage of the season for the first time in 9 years. Especially when you ignore the opening games. Worth pointing out, perhaps, that the top 7 teams are only covered by 3 points. So, as we've raised in previous weeks, the league this season is bonkers, and it remains the case. Do you think this season's going to be one of those where records are set for the lowest points needed to win the league, to finish second and make the top 6?
Potentially. There's so many teams in it. Like you say, it's so close between all the sides at the minute. I mean, we've got an opportunity in the next couple of games maybe to stay top or in the top 2 or 3, but it's wide open this year. There isn't a Fulham this year. There isn't a really good side in there this year. I don't think I think there's 7 or 8 good teams who could go up, and we're in amongst that number, I think. But yeah, it's very hard to call the league this year.
Yeah, it's not going to take that much consistency to just keep ticking the points along. Like we've seen this week, we've lost 1, won 1, and we've gone top of the league. Yeah. Blackburn have lost more games, I think, than some teams in the bottom 3 in their second. Yeah. So very, very bizarre. Only 1 match to preview this week, and that's at home to Wigan. Now, this time last season, for match 16, which is what this is, it was the golden period of the season for QPR. We won 9 out of the next 13 games. It's safe to say that if we do that again this season, we're going to be title contenders. Wigan themselves, I thought earlier in the season, looked to be heading for a decent, comfortable first season back at this level, but They got back-to-back defeats, and they have started to slide down the table a bit as a result. 4 defeats in 5, whereas we've got 4 wins in 5. So hopefully that bodes well. And they're now only 5 points above the bottom 3, and teams below like Middlesbrough and West Brom are still trying to sort themselves out. Coventry seem to be finally getting their season underway. Do you think it's now actually going to be a season of struggle for Wigan?
Yeah, I think it might be. I thought before the season started they'd probably be one of the strugglers, and it's starting to look that way at the minute, isn't it? They've lost a few, and like you say, the teams in around the bottom 3 at the minute you think are probably going to get stronger. Middlesbrough and West Brom are in the market for a new manager, and you can't imagine they're going to stay down there that long. And Coventry, they're a bit. I think they're in a false position because they had quite a lot of games called off, didn't they?
Yeah.
So I think when they catch up, I think they'll probably move back up to mid-table. So yeah, I think Wigan could be in for a season struggle. Yeah.
Yeah, they seem to lack consistency. I'd look, and they've not drawn since August, so they're either winning or losing. It's those draws that can make a big difference when you're in the bottom half, getting a point away from home maybe instead of losing. And they have stood down the table, like I say, and they just seem to be lacking goals. They've only scored 1 in each of the last 5 games. We've mentioned on some previous preview shows how we seem to be a charity case for former players. We've had Bowler, Wells, Freeman now as well scored against us already this season. So is Will Keane clearly the man to watch out for, and perhaps Jordan Cousins as well?
Yeah, probably. But this is the kind of game. If we turn up and play like we did last night, I don't think we're going to need to worry about them. This is the sort of game where it's all about us rather than the opposition. If we go in with the right mindset, play with the intensity we did last night, we will win. We're a good side, and we'll win the game. But if you drop below that, you can lose a game quite easily in this division. And yeah, like you say, we are used to former players coming back and suddenly looking like world beaters against us, aren't they?
Yeah, and you're right there. We have to make sure we turn up because, as we've seen this season, we've dropped points against Blackpool, Rotherham, Stoke. These are matches that we probably could be further player at the top of the league. Really, it's a crazy one. On the QPR side of things, then that you brought us on to, we're in that lovely position against Cardiff, weren't we, where we could rest players like Laird and Chair and Dykes. Just perfect again, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was good second half that they could bring those off and keep them fresh for the weekend. It was nice to see Taylor Richards come on last night, didn't he, for his first time I've seen him play live. So yeah, it all bodes well. I mean, they should have everyone apart from Willock should be fit for the weekend, and I think Dunn's out as well, isn't he? But they should have a pretty strong squad to pick from.
Yeah. You think? I mean, Balogun last night I thought was superb again. The way he reads the game. But you think obviously he's an older player. Should we be playing Dickey, who's like our marketable asset, or where do you stand on that?
Yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? I do think if you've got a player like Dickey, you can sell on, and that's kind of the club we're supposed to be talking about being. Like, you develop players and sell them on. You kind of think Dickey should be playing, but Balogun's been so good. It's how do you drop him? I thought he was excellent last night. I agree with you. It's a tough one. I mean, maybe you bring Dickey in for this weekend. I think Clark Salter's place is pretty much sealed. Beale loves him, doesn't he? And, unless he's not here. So I think I'd like to see Dickey come back in, but Balogun's he's got the shirt at the minute and he's been fantastic.
Yeah, the clean sheets have all come since he's walked in the door, haven't they? So it's hard to drop someone he's effectively going to help you towards a good result, isn't it? Sinclair Armstrong last night, he just showed again how much he scares defenders, and he's just fantastic to watch. He gets the crowd up, doesn't he? Do you expect him to start again, or do you at least hope he starts again?
I hope he starts again. He was fantastic last night. He's just got no fear, is he? He's young and enthusiastic and just runs at them. I'd love to see him get that first goal. He had a couple of chances last night with balls played across and they were just blocked before he got there. But he's a breath of fresh air up front, isn't he? And without Willock, you do have to play slightly differently. And Roberts was out last night, but I think it actually helped us having those 2 strikers last night and sharing behind them. That had a big impact in the game, and I'd certainly be looking to do that again at the weekend.
Yeah. I mean, I know Willock won't be back at the weekend, but when you're looking ahead to when you've got Willock, Chair, Armstrong, I think Armstrong could help Willock and Chair because he'll force defenders to drop deeper and then create the spaces for Willock and Chair to operate in behind. But it's how you play them all, because obviously would you drop Dykes, who's now seems to be on fire again. So on to Michael Beale then. It's only 4 months since we started talking about appointing him, and now Wolves want him. We can only comment on the situation at the time of recording. It's obviously an evolving story. First question is, why are Wolves so keen when he's only 15 league games into his first proper job?
Yeah, it's an odd one from their side. He's done really well for us. I think we've all been really impressed with the football we're playing and the job he's doing. But it just seems so early. We've had a couple of tight games that could have gone the other way, and we'd be down in the bottom half probably. It seems a big gamble from their side, and against everything that they've done previously. They're not a side that looks like they're definitely going to be. I think they're underachieving, but they're not guaranteed to be safe this year, and it's a big risk from them.
Yeah, it is. I don't know whether they're getting to that point like Leicester at as well, where they maybe have to sell a few players to start to fund the team again.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It just none of it adds up to me. And it may be a stupid question, but we're top of the league as we're sat here. Why would he want to leave?
Yeah, it's a difficult one. You can see it from both sides, can't you? It's an opportunity to manage in the Premier League. They've obviously got a fair bit of money behind them. So if he does go, you can kind of see his reasoning behind it. But if you look at us, if he stays and gets us up, there's money at QPR. Obviously, we can't spend it at the minute because of the financial fair play rules in the Championship. But you wonder, would they spend if we went up and maybe do it not by like 35-year-old Premier League players this time, maybe by younger ones and have a go next year. It's a tough call for him. I think winning last night has probably put some doubt in his mind. We're top of the table now, and you look at the games coming up. It's something to build on. It's a difficult decision he might have to make today.
Yeah, it's just money talks, doesn't it? Like you're saying there, it's just so frustrating. And like you say, maybe the club could say to him, look, if we go up, this is going to be the way we're going to do things, trying to cherry pick the best young players in the Championship this time, which is the route you'd hope we'd go down if we did go up. And obviously, he's been with us, he's worked on this through the summer. Why would he want to go to Wolves midway through the season when it's going to be harder for him to change things around than it was at QPR? Just none of it really adds up to me. And last week at the Fans Forum, he was so excited about the training ground and working with Chair and Willock and all these other things. That can't surely go out the window in less than a week.
You'd hope not, but like you say, money talks. If they're going to offer him a lot of money and it's an opportunity for him, he clearly believes in himself. I wouldn't be surprised if he takes it. And if he doesn't, this won't be the end of it. I think there's a few other Premier League jobs that are going to come up soon, and I think he'll be linked with them as well. I suppose it's nice that we've got someone that other clubs want rather than us having to pay him to leave like we normally do. But it's so disappointing that it's this early in the season and, everyone's on a high with how we're playing and it's looking really good. And, this feels like a bit of a kick in the house of fathers. It's not great, is it?
Yeah, you say it there. It's like he obviously believes in himself. I mean, he appears that he's a very good manager, but he obviously believes himself to be a very good manager as well, doesn't he? And he's obviously starting to prove it, but I think his stock is only going to go up if he stays at QPR. I can't see it. Fair enough, you could lose the next 3 games and end up being under pressure, but the way he talks, I think that's what's attracted interest. If other clubs are watching his interviews, he comes across so well, doesn't he?
Yeah, but I do think, we talk about players developing. I think as a manager, he can develop over the year. You see, like Graham Potter went to, he was at Swansea for a year, wasn't he? Yeah. And he'd learned and he probably had opportunities to go. And I think they only finished 10th, and that got him his Premier League chance, and he's built from there. I think he's got a lot to learn still as a manager. It's a big jump to Premier League. That is not an easy league to stay in this year. There's not. I mean, maybe Forest are probably going to go down, but there's not an obvious bottom 3 this year, and Wolves could be in a bit of trouble there. It's a big risk for him. I mean, I'd like to see him stay, and I think it would be the right decision for him. Like I say, you can kind of see it from his point of view. Like you say, lose 3 games, and we're probably all saying, "I'll get rid of him."
Yeah, you make a good point there as well before about. I think he'll be linked with a lot of other jobs. I don't think he just needs to. Right, this is the first sniff of interest. Right, I'm out the door. He's probably going to get linked with other jobs, especially if we remain near the top of the league.
Yeah,
it's just such a strange feeling from a QPR perspective, because this is the first time in my QPR supporting life that we've ever had someone want the manager. Right? Like yesterday, was like, what? You just don't even know sometimes how to feel it. It feels so strange, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think Jim Smith was the last one in the late 80s, and even then he'd been here about 3 or 4 years. So it wasn't like a massive disappointment when he left. This one he's literally just walked in the door.
Yeah, I think that's what makes it even more strange, isn't it? It's like, what? We're only in the 20th of October as we're talking now. It's really, really odd. Do you think it does work against us, though, that managers these days are only a few bad results away from the sack? That he's kind of ruined the idea of loyalty. He could stick with us, lose the next 4 games, and then we're saying to him, right, well, you're now under pressure.
Potentially, but I think, though, QPR have been quite good with their managers in recent years. You see, like Ian Holloway had a lot of bad spells, and they stuck with him. He was here for about 2 years, when he Warburton had difficult spells, and they stuck with him, and he saw out his contract for 3 years. So I think they've probably shown over the last few years they will, if we do have a bad run, they will stick with him, and see it through. It's only really if you're in flirting with relegation, I think, that they're going to wield the axe. But I think other clubs that you're looking at Bilic, he's under pressure already at Watford. He only walked in last week, and then I reckon he could be gone now.
Yeah, crazy old league, crazy old game, and just fingers crossed he stays. But final word on that, on next week's preview show, do you think Mick Beale is the manager of QPR?
No, unfortunately. I do think he will go. I hope I'm wrong, though.
Yeah, I think he's going to go too. It's so deflating. Like I said, last time we were top of the league in this league, we had Steve McLaren, and he left, and then we only obviously flopped to the playoffs. Before that, we couldn't enjoy being top of the league because there was obviously that Alejandro Forlan debacle going on. It's just never ever enjoyable, is it? QPR at the top of the league.
You can't have nice things.
No, but yeah, I'm with you. I think he's going to go just because if someone's offering him probably £40,000-50,000 a week to move, he's just going to go, isn't he? Unfortunately. Going back to Wigan then to finish off, either with or without Mick Beale, how do you see that one going?
I think we'll win, with or without him, really. I mean, if he does go, this is a good squad. We're a good team. We're an attractive, proposition for a manager if we do end up needing one next week. I think, like I said before, if we play anything like we did last night, we'll win the game. It's all about us, really. If we drop below that, we'll be in trouble, but I fancy us to win.
Yeah, I still think the players looked happy on Wednesday night, didn't they? They should be confident, and it would be nice to be top for longer than just a few days. So let's hope we can get the 3 points. We'll have 2 away matches to preview in next week's show. We go to Birmingham on the Friday, and then we follow up that with a trip away to Norwich in midweek. Will Mick Beale be manager then? Will he even be manager when you're watching this? Who knows? But let's hope QPR can stay top for as long as possible. Thank you for watching, and regardless of what happens with Mick Beale, we are top of the league. And come on, you R's.
We know who we are. You know who we are. We are QPR.